We are building up to match number 24. It is Pune in action and they take on the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Pune have had a nice 5-6 days off, much like Ajit Agarkar on our show and Brad Hogg.
5-6 days, was it?
Feels like that in the IPL. Good to have both of you. This is ESPNcricinfo Matchday T20 and let's start with Matchday match point number 1 as we talk about a team that surprised us by winning away at Bangalore, and they'll be up against Bhuvneshwar Kumar, who through that picture looks a bit scary, but he has been the outstanding bowler of the tournament so far. Against Ajinkya Rahane, he's got the Indian opener's number. The numbers to first put the story out: 6 times. No other bowler has dismissed Rahane more than 3 times in the history of the tournament. Bhuvneshwar's got him 6 times and not for too many. So let's start the face-up. Bhuvneshwar versus Rahane. Ajit, he's been excellent with the old ball, but there seems to be something about Bhuvneshwar Kumar that troubles Ajinkya Rahane at the top. How do you see that battle coming along?
Well, Ajinkya Rahane, I mean, at the moment seems to have fallen off or lost a little bit of form in the last few games. Maybe a long summer of Test cricket is finally catching up. This 4 days would have done him a world of good, just to be away, you know, from the pressure. What Bhuvneshwar Kumar does well, or probably has a lot more success, where Ajinkya Rahane usually hangs back a bit. He pitches the ball up to him and swings the ball, and you know, his pace is, because of the confidence that he has at the moment, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, his pace is up there as well, and as soon as you pitch the ball up and swing it or seam it, it makes it difficult for any batsman, and that's probably the reason, and more so because Ajinkya Rahane initially in his innings hangs back a little bit. He has had success against him, so you know, it'll be an interesting contest again.
Yeah, perfect. On cue. He's not lost his touch in spite of a couple of days off. Bhuvneshwar Kumar has hardly had a day off this tournament. Brad Hogg, you've been very impressed with him. What's made him stand out against maybe even more experienced and seasoned international bowlers in this tournament?
Well, to me, he sums up the conditions extremely well. He goes hard out the batsman early with swinging the ball in and away, trying to get those wickets, and out the death he's able to hit the Yorkers, vary his pace and just bamboozle the batsman out the end. One thing I'd like to see Bhuvneshwar do, if he gets an early wicket and Steve Smith comes to the wicket early, I'd like to see him change up the game plan to Steve Smith, come around the wicket and try and get that in-swinger to Steve Smith, trying to hit middle and leg, get him out LBW, because Steve Smith likes to walk across the crease and play outside off stump, and his head's over there, so if he can get Steve Smith to have his head over too far on the offside and get that on the middle and leg, I think they'll get him early.
Okay, now let's move straight to matchday match point number 2, and we are going to talk about Pune. Have an odd sort of consistency at the death with both bat and ball, but it's not something that they'd be proud of. The numbers once again to set up the conversation of whether Pune are susceptible in the death overs, whether they've got bat in hand or the ball, and we'll see that they're struggling a bit. 9.23 in the last 5 overs when their batting is the second worst. It's also the second worst when they're bowling at an economy of 11.95. Now, I'm in a bit of a dilemma as to who to go to for batting and who to go for bowling on this panel, but Ajit Agarkar has that memorable Test 100. So I'll come to you for batting. Manoj Tiwari's place as against MS Dhoni and Ben Stokes struggling a bit with the bat. How do they solve the batting crisis, Pune? 45 seconds.
Well, I mean, firstly, they want to get Ajinkya Rahane back into form. I think usually he's the guy who the innings revolves around. Steve Smith just doesn't fail too many times, so that's always an added advantage that they have. But Tiwari, I mean, that's the best I have seen him bat throughout his career. I mean, he's had success before, but just the way he's batting at the moment, he's obviously very, very confident with where his game is. So they need to promote him up there. The finishing, obviously, there's been a problem because MS Dhoni hasn't. Look, when you have that over or two, when you come towards that end, you've got to be on top of your form, and at the moment he isn't, and Stokes struggling. But if the top 4 can have a nice base, it'll be easier for those 2 or 3 later on to come and strike a few runs.
Yeah, that's the middle order, lower order batsmen speaking. Don't blame it on them. If the top order gets the runs, you'll get it anyway. Hoggy, Indian pace bowlers that we've seen a little of. Unadkat they brought in the last game. Shardul Thakur. Ben Stokes has struggled even for England at the death in T20 bowling. Can anyone be assigned a role from what you've seen? Is there anyone who stands out who can fix this death overs problem with the ball for Pune?
Well, I think they've got to stick with Unadkat, Thakur and Bharti as well. They've got the best economy rates in this Supergiant bowling attack. So they've got to give them another go. And this could be the perfect team to get their death bowling right, because we know that the Sunrisers aren't that strong down in the lower order. They rely heavily on Warner, Darwin and Williamson now to get the runs, and the bottom order are a little bit susceptible. So tonight, or this particular game, we could see an improvement in the Supergiants in that in those death overs. And instead of using Zampa, if they use the two leg spinners, try Tahir with his variations out the end. That could be a good option as well.
Maybe Imran Tahir at the death is something that they need to consider, Steve Smith and Stephen Fleming. Now, let's go to matchday match point number 3, where our experts, as always, pick the 11. It's always a tough job, especially in the IPL when teams do all sorts of strange things. But we're going to pick Ajit Agarkar's Pune team now, and let's see if he's made any changes to the team that won by 27 runs against Bangalore at the Chinnaswamy. I see he hasn't, so you're sticking with the leg spin of Rahul Chahar, Ajit, along with Imran Tahir. Dan Christian keeps his place. I'm guessing Manoj Tiwari would bat somewhere in the top 4 or 5 for you. You can help me. And you've gone with Shardul Thakur and Jaydev Unadkat. 45 seconds for you to explain that team.
Well, I mean, straightforward. For a team that's struggling for form and wins, to have a win against a really good team against RCB would have given them confidence. So you wouldn't want to tinker too much with the 11 that's won them the game. You know, the seamers looked quite impressive. Shardul and Unadkat both were quite impressive, and with Chahar, the leg spinner, gives them an option if the pitch does something. Yeah. And because they already have 5 regular bowlers, so I'd rather leave him there. But Tiwari's got to bat 4. I mean, he can't bat ahead of Steve Smith for sure, but he's got to bat 4 because he's in far too good a form to waste him and not give him enough balls to make a difference in the game.
Okay, got some time to spare, so let's run quickly to the Hyderabad team that Brad Hogg has picked. They've been making a couple of changes. They, of course, dropped Mohammad Nabi and the specialist batsman Kane Williamson with a fine 89. So no surprises that Hoggy keeps the Kiwi in his team. Not often that line will be said very often, but Hoggy goes with Williamson for now. Moses Enriques is still there, and he's brought in Ashish Nehra, assuming he's fit, for Mohammad Siraj, who had a decent debut. Right, Hoggy, 45 seconds for you to take me through your team.
Well, if Nehra's not fit, I think Siraj is going to get another go. I think he's probably a better option than Shran. And I'd like to think Cool, I'd like to keep him in the team. Yep. I thought he did a fantastic job wherever he bowled the other day, whether it was up front in the middle overs and even out the death. He had composure, even when he was under batting Enriques down the lower order. I think that's going to free him up and allow him to play a bit more expansive. Down the lower order, I think that's going to free him up and allow him to play a bit more expansive game and go after the bowling a little bit sooner than later, which will help Enriques.
You two have gotten so good at this. You give me some time to spare. Thank you very much, Brad Hogg and Ajit Agarkar. So those are the likely 11s for these two when Pune and Hyderabad take the field on Saturday. Well, let's move on to that second game then on Saturday. Mumbai against Delhi at the Wankhede Stadium. Mumbai have already won 3 out of 3. We're going to build up to that with Brad and Ajit. Matchday match point number 1 focuses on Chris Morris, probably the number 1 all-rounder as far as the numbers go in this tournament in the absence of Andre Russell. He is Delhi's X-factor. Have they used him well enough? I don't think they'd say so after the way they went down against the Sunrisers a couple of nights ago. So, the batting record for Chris Morris. Strike rate of 161, yet he didn't come in when they really needed someone to go at 10-11 or 11-12 and over in the game against Hyderabad. Let's look at the bowling numbers too for Chris Morris before I throw it open to Brad and Ajit. And an average of 20, economy of 7.5, more than acceptable. He's also very good at the death. We've discussed that on one of our previous shows. Ajit, Chris Morris, so much talent, so much ability, and Delhi with their odd sort of philosophy don't quite know how to use him. How should they use Chris Morris? 45 seconds to you.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's probably the right term, that they don't know how to use him, because they know clearly that he's their main player or the guy that the team probably revolves around. But they keep making silly mistakes. You just look at the history of this Delhi team. You look at them on paper, and they look they should be in the top 4 come the end of this league phase. But they don't make the right decision. I mean, the classic case was the other night, sending Matthews ahead of a guy whose strike rate is over 160. And I'm sure they've realized that mistake. They hopefully won't do that again. But you've got to again keep early part of this tournament, you try and use your form players as much as you can in the most difficult phases because they are likely to get you over the line more than others.
Brad, we went hard at Delhi for the way they went about that chase the other night on the show. Would you call Chris Morris the best all-rounder in terms of ability and form in the tournament now? And what would you go with? How Delhi could use Morris to make that team revolve around him, like Ajit said?
Well, there's no doubt that he is the best all-rounder going around. His economy rate in the death overs and also in the power play overs, I think, are up there with the best of any bowler. And when he comes out with a bat, he can destroy any attack. If you look at that stat that we just had, he scores a boundary every 5 balls, and that puts pressure on opposition bowlers. They are at the top of their mark thinking, right, I've got to get this right, otherwise the ball is going to disappear from Chris Morris's bat. He's just so destructive, and if you've got someone that's destructive with the bat, unless you've got Pant who's out in the middle, if Pant hasn't batted, Chris Morris has got to come in next, and you've got to give him time to settle. He's got to be in out the 13th over. He's your biggest weapon. Use your biggest weapon. If he gets out, then the likes of Matthews, Anderson have to step up.
Okay, let's move to match point number 2 for this game. And what a batsman has Nitish Rana been. We didn't think we'd be saying that about 2.5 weeks into the tournament, but how good has he been? He's from Delhi, he's come to the Mumbai Indians, and he's going to be up against Delhi. Let's just talk about Nitish Rana's numbers this year and compare them with other batsmen at number 3. He is head and shoulders above. Get ready, Nitish Rana's family, you're going to love this. A.B. de Villiers, Steve Smith, and one of the great IPL players of all time, Suresh Raina. 82.5 at an average, 166 the strike rate, scores of 34, 50, 45, 11, 53, and an unbeaten 62, which involves 7 sixes and no fours, an odd record on his own. Ajit, Nitish Rana, who is he? What has he done? What's he getting right that the great batsmen of the world aren't? Just amazing what we've seen. 45 seconds to you.
Yeah, I mean, did start batting at number 3 for Mumbai, and the fact that he's been promoted now tells you how good he's been. I think there's nothing ugly about his batting. Just bats normally, plays good cricketing shots, plays the ball on its merit, and seems to have a really good temperament for a young player who doesn't, he's not been on the big stage that many times. But seems comfortable playing for one of the bigger teams in this competition. Look, that things in his favour as well. Mumbai, they have batted twice, a few times, or all 3 times that they've played in Wankhede, where there's a little bit of dew, makes bowling harder. But that takes nothing away from the way he's batted. I think he's stayed in any situation, he's been calm and bailed Mumbai out when some of their top order batsmen have failed.
Yeah, Hoggy, that was the other thing. In the absence of Rohit Sharma's decent run of form and the injury, and every year Mumbai actually experiment with number 3. They play the whole team there and then have to just manage. Nitish Rana coming to form, how big a factor has he been in the success and the good start that Mumbai have had this season?
Now, I love this young player, Rana. He's sensational. He's awesome. The thing I like about him is when there's a bad ball, he puts it away to the boundary. But when there's a good ball, he's able to get off strike and get the single and really put the pressure on the opposition bowling. The other thing that I really liked about the Kings 11 the other night, he was going strong. He was striking the ball at a very good clip. But when the game was there to be won, he took control, showed maturity, and made sure he batted to the end. He didn't throw it away. And to me, that's a sign of a class player. He is going to go through a few troughs here and there, and that's probably going to be the definition of him, how he goes through those rough trots down the track.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move to the playing 11s that Brad and Ajit have picked out for us. Mumbai against Delhi. And Ajit is going to pick the Mumbai team. Good luck, Ajit Agarkar, with that. It's not necessarily the hardest job in the world. But there are concerns around Lasith Malinga, who's gone for over 50 in his 4 overs in 2 consecutive games. Ajit, I wonder if it was any other bowler that maybe you would have considered a Saudi or Mitchell Johnson, but you've stuck with him and there's no need to change that batting order. Just 45 seconds for you to tell me maybe 1 or 2 of those players that might want to do a little better than they have been.
I think the first thing is Joss Butler and Parthiv's. Yes, I mean the conditions were very much in favour of batters in Indore, but they still went out and smashed, chasing 200 under pressure. So that's a real positive for them. Rohit's not needed yet, which is also a positive. That in spite of lack of runs from Rohit, Mumbai are still winning. So And Malinga, you can't. I'd only drop him if he physically can't turn up to the game. He's that sort of bowler. In fact, I thought he started the season in better shape than he was last year. But obviously, he's not the Malinga of old. But as the tournament progresses in key situations, you need a guy with that sort of ability and experience. So now Mumbai Indians don't make too many changes too many times, and I don't think why they would when they're winning.
Hoggy, before I go to you, Malinga or Johnson?
That's a big question, that one. I think it's time to go to Johnson. I think they're just wasting Johnson on the bench. He's just too good a bowler at this present stage to leave him on the bench.
Right, let's take the Delhi team now. That would make for some hard work. Brad Hogg, assuming Corey Anderson is fit and fine, you've slotted him in place of Angelo Matthews. And you've brought in the left-arm spin of Shahbaz Nadeem. Supergiant Yadav for Brad Hogg would get just the one game. So Hoggy, your thoughts to tell me why this is the team you've gone for, and I wonder where you bat Karun Nair in that 11.
Giant Yadav has to go. He had an opportunity the other night, but you've got the quality of Nadeem there. He's going out 4 and over in the economy rate. Why he's not played the last 2 games is beyond me. Anderson's definitely coming for Matthews. I think Matthews has been a quality player over the years, but I just think he's lost the edge at the moment. Age has got to him. He's a little slow in the field. His bowling's not up to it, and I just think Anderson offers more with both bat and in the field, and he'll probably offer the same as Matthews with the ball. And now, I thought he batted well the other day. He showed some assertiveness. We got on his back for being too slow the game before. He rectified that last game. Leave him out 3, give him another chance. Get the scooters on there.
Perfect. That's 2 buzzers together. Thank you, Brad Hogg and Ajit Agarkar. You can catch Brad and Ajit, who will of course be with me through the course of the weekend as the games come along. 7:30 p.m. is our live show, Indian Standard Time, on ESPNcricinfo.com as well as Facebook. Make sure you stay with us on Facebook mid-innings, because that's when we go live for your comments and questions. Catch all our content on Facebook too. And if you're on YouTube, please do subscribe to our channel there as well. See how that game goes. Pune, Hyderabad, and then Mumbai, Delhi. Until we meet again on our network, it's goodbye.